Hi, welcome to the channel. In the first of this series of tutorials, I'll be teaching you the basics of IBM SPSS Statistical Software. Now, before we go on, let me quickly state that SPSS was initially a software targeted for social sciences research, and that accounted for the name it was well known for, Statistical Package for the Social Sciences. However, this application is a very versatile one and is able to handle a lot of statistical work which is besides the social sciences. Now, because of this versatility, it has now been christened with a new name that is more reflective of the wide acceptability and scope of statistical procedures it is capable of. So, it is now known as Statistical Product and Service Solution. So why should you think of using SPSS, by the way, when you have tons of statistical software and applications? Well, statistical tools can be difficult to use oftentimes, but this app is extremely intuitive. It does not require any knowledge of coding. Now, it's also able to handle a bulk of statistical analysis. There are so many different statistical methods which you can easily apply, and using a few clicks, get it done using SPSS. Essentially, SPSS is a point-and-click statistical tool. SPSS also has the capability for different visual formats for presentation of your data. So you can have bar charts, you can have clustered bar charts, you can have pie charts, you can have line graphs, and so many other ways in which you can present your data. What are the uses of SPSS software? Of course, the social sciences use it. It was designed with them in mind. But besides that, people in the health research, biomedical research also get to use it. People can also use it for market analysis, and it's also used for data mining, where you sort out huge chunks of data to find patterns and also to define relationships in the data sets. So once again, it's really a versatile app, very competitive with so many other tools out there, including GraphPath, Prism, and Stata, and it is simple to use. What is the scope of this tutorial? First of all, in this tutorial, we're going to look at the general interface of the SPSS app. Secondly, we will take a look at the basic operations and the tabs available for you to perform your everyday functions using the SPSS app. Third, we're going to look at the different views that are available in the SPSS and what each of those views represents and what it is used for. Then we're going to also do basic data entry, how to enter data and how to present your information to SPSS in such a way that it will be able to handle your analysis. We'll also do a basic statistical analysis, and then we'll also see the SPSS output window. So let's get all of this out of the way and get into SPSS itself. For this series of tutorials, I will be using the IBM SPSS Statistics version 23. However, if you have a version that is a little older, or you have a newer version, even as new as the 30th version, be rest assured that very little is going to be different. Starting SPSS for the first time, you're going to be greeted with a window that may look like this or a little bit different. Here you'll find new files. You may want to open a new data set. You may also find recent files. Now, if you're opening it for the very first time, you're not going to have anything under your recent files. We can easily close this, and you can also tell it not to show you this dialog box in the future. So, but I'll just say cancel here, and here we are. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to look at the general user interface. But the beautiful thing about the interface of SPSS is it's not an inundating interface. It's pretty simple and looks very lean without much complications. And that's the beauty of it. Now, the next thing we're going to do is just to quickly have a view of what each of these elements here are to start off using the software. Of course, here you have your files where you can easily create a new data set. You can open existing ones or something from another location. And of course, the recent files you can also find here. So there are a couple of other bells and whistles here that you can use, but for a basic starter, what is most important is you can create new data and you can also open existing data. Now, under edit tab, you have your usual undo, redo, insert variable, and all of that. And most of the things you find here are also in the tools that are on the fly. Now, on the view, you have status bar, and this, of course, is the status bar. I don't know why you wouldn't want this checked. So basically, everything here you could leave, but you can check out what is going on when you take this out. So if you take the status bar out, here it is. You're not going to see what is going on, and so I never take that out. I want to see my status bar. At the same time, I don't know why I wouldn't want to have my grid lines in a spreadsheet, so I always keep that on. Again, I don't know why I wouldn't want to have my toolbars. So if you take that out, all your toolbars are gone. Everybody knows how important toolbars are, so I'm going to leave my toolbar, and that's basically what you find here. Now, under data, there are so many things you can do. You can compare data sets, you can sort your data, you can split files, you can select cases, and you can define variables. You can do a lot of things. You can identify duplicates. So you can take time to look at all of these. There are so many things you can do with your data, which is not necessarily a statistical analysis. Now, the next thing I want us to see is on the transform. Transformation is basically what you can do with your information and change it from one form to the other. So for example, when you come to talk about compute variable, you can actually have a formula that you're going to impute, and it will convert all your variables into something else. So for example, you have a value for every of the cases, and you want that value to be converted to log. So you can just do a computation and you get a new variable that converts all the values of the old variable into log form, and so many other things. You can also recode your variables into the same variable or into a different variable. So there are a couple of things you can do here. This is where all the heavy lifting takes place in the SPSS app. Now, if you look at it on the surface, it looks like it's just a few things you can do, but don't be deceived. When you go to each of those items, you'll find a host of things you can do. If you go to your descriptive statistics, for example, frequency, description, explore, crosstab, and all of that. The same thing if you go to your means, all manner of statistics you can do that compare means. You go to your general linear model, generalized linear models, you go to correlation, regression, you go, for example, to your survival analysis, you go to non-parametric testing. So this is where all the heavy lifting takes place, and this is one of the most important tabs in the app. Now, when you come to direct marketing, this is where when you want to do market analysis, for example, you have clients and you have their data, and in that data set, what you want to do is, for example, you want to look and find out who are the people buying more, who are the people responding more, what is the total sales. So that's the kind of thing you can do here. Now, under graphs is another important place in the SPSS. So a lot of graphs, different types of graphs, bar charts, 3D, line area, box plots, histogram, all of that stuff you can create in this place. So most of the work you're going to do with this app, you're going to work with the graphs and you're going to work with analysis. The utilities define variables. Most of the things here, as a fresh user, you may not bother your mind with it, but you may be able to easily define variables here. Add-ons are basically things you can add to the basic SPSS template. So you can have extra things. For example, you can put an add-on that is going to do text analytics for you. Now, under Windows, you can split your windows. You can see all the windows that are open, and you can select the window that you want to be active and things of that nature. Of course, you have your help. So on a general note, these are the tabs you have in SPSS. Now, let me just look at some of those tools. For example, this is your save tool. This is your file. You know that. This is your print tool. This tool is very important. It actually helps you to be able to quickly do analysis that you're conversant with, those things that you do from time to time. So for example, on my own system, because I do many of this kind of stuff, or I've done things like this in the most recent past, it gives me access to them. So I don't have to go through the analysis tab. I can just pick them here and it will take me straight into defining all the variables to do such. Of course, this is your undo and to do. And then some of these other tabs that you also find not active, the reason why they are not active is because we have no data. So this is going to case, this is going to variable, this is variables themselves, this is running a descriptive statistics on the information you have, this is search, you can search, This is for inserting new case. Where you already have several cases, you want to insert a new case in between two cases, or you want to insert a new variable. I showed you split file, which you saw under data, and then weight of cases, and then select cases where you want to select a particular series of cases. You don't want to select all the cases. You want to analyze certain cases and you want to take some things out. So that's going to be important. And of course, here, this is your label, value labels. So when you give names to your variables and you also give them numbers, this is what you're going to use to switch or toggle between that. So essentially, that's what you have under the tabs and the tools. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is the variable and the data view. There are two essential views in SPSS. The first one is the data view, which is where we are. Now, there's nothing special about the data view. The data view is a traditional spreadsheet you are used to having. So this is where you put in your data, the information you want to analyze. This is where you put in, and that's basically the active view we have here. Now, the other view is the variable view. And in the variable view is where you define the properties of the variables or the data, as it were, that you want to enter. So you can give the variable a name. You can determine what type it is. Maybe it's a numeric variable. Maybe it's something that's supposed to be in date format, dollar format, scientific notation. You determine that. Then you determine the width. You determine the number of decimal places you want it to have. Then you determine the label. So the exact name you want it to have. So that when SPSS does your statistics and returns an output, the exact name that you have here is what it's going to return. Then the values here represent where you have multiple values to select from. For example, your variable could be educational status. And under educational status, you have about 4 values, 1, 2, 3, 4. So under values is where you're going to define all those variables, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then those are the most important things I think you need to know, except of course the measure. So whether it's an ordinal value or a nominal value. Right now, everything is not popping up because we have not imputed any information. So this is basically what you have, your data view and your variable view. What we're going to do next is to do a basic data entry. I have said that data is entered in the data view. So we're going to do a little work here now. And what we're going to do is we're going to enter a hypothetical data. So let's assume that we are going to do a small analysis. And what we basically want to do is we're going to define a variable. Now, if you go to the variable view, we can now define the name of the first column. And we can call this column gender, right? Now, gender is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to use it, make it a numerical value, and decimal places, we're going to have no decimal places, and the gender is going to be the label, and then the values, we're going to have 2, where we make 1 to represent males, and then we make 2 to represent female. Right, we add that and we OK. Now the measure is not scale, but it is nominal. Let's say we want to have something else, and that is going to be score. Now, the score is also numeric, and this time around, let's leave it at 1 decimal place, and we call it test score. Now, there are no value because a score is just a single value. And this time around, the measure is a scale. So we go back to our data. This is the value labeled. And what we did under variable view, if you look at it, we defined the labels. So 1 represents male and 2 represents female. So we OK that and go back to data view. So now if I say I click on 1, it gives me male. Now why is it giving me male? It's giving me male because I have toggled this to give me the value labels. If I turn this, it now gives me the number 1. So this is the number 1. So let's assume that I have another male. So 1 represents males, another male. Now let's toggle this back on. So let's assume we have another male, another male, another male. So let's say we have 5 males, and then let's say we have 5 females. That's 10. So let's give them scores. So the scores, let's assume the scores are over 100. Here we have essentially, we have 10 individuals and we have 10 scores. So this is how easy it is to enter data. Very simple. Now we're going to do a very basic analysis here. Now let's say we have our scores and we want to just simply analyze and go to descriptive. So we want to just describe. Let's go to frequencies and we want to look at the test scores. That's all we want. Very simple. We can leave all of this. We don't want to do what if we want. We can look at it. We can put the mean and then we can put the standard error of the mean. Right. So we take this and we just OK it. Beautiful. Now, this has brought us to what is known as the SPSS output. The output is where you get all the statistical results. So each time you open a file and you have to do an analysis, the results of your analysis will go to an output. And that is what we have here. So this is our output. So what we have here is the basic statistics which we just ran. And here we have sample size of 10 and we ask for the mean and standard error. And here we also have the frequency. So you can see 77 appearing twice, 87 appearing twice, and the total number 10. This is a basic analysis. And this is how simple the SPSS app really is. If you have found value in this video, do subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so that whenever we put up a new video, you will get notified. In subsequent videos in this series, I will show you how to do specific inferential analysis. To start off, you can click the link above to watch the video on how to do student t-test.